The venomous snake had been hunting these helpless birds for too long, raiding their nests. Unable to stand up to such a dangerous adversary alone, the birds formed a real gang and tracked down the enemy to give it a beating. It's even surprising that we're talking about the most ordinary birds, which are not even predators. But the desire to defend themselves against the terrifying legless monster forced the birds to seek new ways to survive. If the birds had relied solely on numerical superiority, the snake would have easily dealt with many of them, as just one lightning-fast bite is enough for the toxin to stop the brave bird's heart. But unexpectedly for the reptile, these winged warriors are as smart as they are brave. They work together so well, as if they had rehearsed this showdown before. The birds surrounded the snake, then began swooping down on it from different sides. The attack seems chaotic only at first glance. Watching the battle, you understand that the birds know exactly the order of their strikes. First, the bird attacks, making the snake dizzy. And when the reptile lunges after the enemy, it is attacked by the bird that is exactly behind it. Thus, the birds confuse the snake and effectively cover each other. Without powerful claws and a massive beak, such strikes cannot lead to serious consequences, but the birds put all their weight into the blows, using momentum and gradually stunning the opponent. Stunned, the snake is more enraged than ever before, but it literally can't do anything against such a serious opponent. It seems the reptile will have to retreat from the territory of this gang. That's how, by uniting these birds, managed to defeat an enemy they could never have overcome alone. And today we'll show you other cases in which birds demonstrated a combination of strength, intelligence, and bravery, showing that messing with them is not a good idea. A huge relative to its prey, venomous snake sinks its fangs into a white, slender-legged bird at the water's edge. The ambush attack was successful. Perhaps it is the snakes that are one of the most terrifying enemies for most birds. Reptiles hunt birds, albeit less frequently than rodents, but more often than most other vertebrates. The small weight of most birds makes them convenient prey for reptiles, which swallows their victims whole after killing them. But the further course of events came as a surprise to the reptile. This bird refused to surrender and obediently become lunch for the legless monster. First, it moved away from the shore and swam further into the depths of the pond. Snakes feel great in the water, so such a move may seem illogical, but only at first glance. The bird was trying to make the snake stretch its body. Moreover, the reptile will not be able to push off from the water to throw loops of its body as easily as from the ground. Therefore, the bird is acting correctly. However, the snake doesn't let go. It tightens its jaws, continuing to inject its toxin into the bird's body. The complex chemical composition of the snake's venom should gradually stop the victim's heart, no matter how strong it is. Therefore, the snake continues to tighten its grip and wait. However, its plan fails. The bird lies on the water's surface almost motionless for a while, but then it starts fiercely counteracting the snake. The feathered fighter uses its beak to deliver terrible, stabbing blows. At the same time, it paddles with its legs and tries to spread its wings to prevent the snake from drowning it. The reptile did not expect such a fierce and effective resistance. It tries with its whole body to submerge the victim below the water's surface, but it can't. And its jaws are occupied. With each strike of the bird's counterattack, it becomes more and more dangerous. The snake suffered serious damage and barely saved its life. Probably, it has at least one eye damaged. In the end, the predator released its prey. Otherwise, the long beak could have pierced the reptile's skull in a couple of minutes. But from the red trail on the beautiful white feathers, it becomes obvious that the snake's fangs did not get entangled in the feathers and achieved their goal. It's hard to say how the bird held on for so long. Perhaps the snake only managed to grab it with one fang, and the amount of venom was not significant. Perhaps the feathered creature held on thanks to a surge of adrenaline. In any case, the bird is seriously injured, but she still managed to make it to the shore. She won. Let's hope she survives now. In general, birds that inhabit the coastal zone should not be underestimated. Storks, herons, and cranes can be truly formidable fighters with amazing abilities. When large fish swim into shallow waters, they feel completely comfortable there, as there is no one else in the water comparable to them in size and strength. But the presence of a skilled winged fisherman, this underwater inhabitant could not foresee. It's amazing, but the bird managed to catch and pull out of the water a huge fish with one blow, which outweighs both the beak and the head of the fisherman together with its neck. Surely any fishing enthusiast would be delighted to see friends with such a creature to help catch fish, wouldn't they? It turns out these delicate and slender feathered creatures possess great strength, and their stubbornness and determination deserve your like, I would say, don't they? Here's a bright, multicolored bird of small size with a beak that clearly suits more for seeds and nuts than for any other food at all. Looks pretty harmless, right? So, this snake decided that it would have a snack now, swiftly catching the helpless bird. Compared to the prey, this cold-blooded predator is huge, and its venom can deal with creatures many times larger. The reptile tensed its neck for a throw, thinking that the main challenge was to catch the prey before it could fly away. But the snake was in for the most unpleasant surprise of its life. The bird wasn't backing down. Previously behaving quite calmly, the aggressive behavior of the snake awakened a truly bloodthirsty monster. Instead of panicking and fleeing, the small-footed, round-bodied bird turned into a living bullet, swooping down on the enemy and literally hammering it with its beak. This weapon is quite massive and has a sharp tip. What can crack open a nutshell can easily pierce through the smooth scales of the snake. The reptile is shocked by such aggression. It doesn't have time to retaliate against such an active and fast enemy. The bird constantly maneuvers, never staying in one place, and attacks the snake again and again. The legless creature turned out to be completely helpless, as the snake's only weapon is its mouth, from which the bird initially kept its distance. But then it studied the enemy, and it began to act even more aggressively and boldly. The bird lunged at the snake and attacked its eyes. The feathered fighter relentlessly struck the part of the reptile's body, disregarding the danger of the opponent's venomous fangs. The snake didn't expect this turn of events and missed the attack. Snakes don't have eyelids, nor the ability to shield their head with their paws. Against the massive beak of the bird, the snake's eye was an easy target. But if you think the bird just wants to gain a tactical advantage to retreat, you would be wrong. The feathered daredevil strikes several times until it gouges out the snake's eye. Suffering irreversible damage to this organ, the reptile is partially blinded, greatly reducing its mobility. And let's not forget about the pain. Now the reptile is trying to retreat, but the bird continues to pursue it. It was a bad idea to pick a fight with this seemingly cute and colorful creature. And that's not the end of it. The bird literally mounts the snake, continuing to hammer it. The reptile is now thoroughly weakened, and then the plan of the winged hero becomes clear. Through the snake's eye socket, the bird aims to reach its brain to bring the battle to a fatal conclusion. The heron usually hunts for fish, preferably to live near the shores of water bodies. But what is this bird doing next to this burrow here? It turns out a ground squirrel is hiding inside of it. The fluffy animal is accustomed to reacting to sudden movements nearby as a potential threat, so it hides as deeply as possible and freezes. This little creature is not naive enough to come out directly under the feet of the huge bird. However, the defensive tactics of the ground squirrel proved to be insufficiently effective. The skills that the heron acquired due to its love for fishing came in handy for hunting small rodents. This ground squirrel certainly didn't expect that, but the heron froze right in front of the entrance to its burrow. The bird doesn't move at all. It's as if it turned into a stone. And it's even difficult to tell where the video is, where the photo is, and where the still frame is. Such concentration into the ability to remain motionless would be envied even by a seasoned leopard approaching a gazelle. The heron stands still and doesn't even blink. Its efforts paid off. The ground squirrel decided that the threat had passed and simply approached closer to the exit. The bird perfectly assessed the distance and calculated the timing, delivering a devastating blow at the most crucial moment. The feathered hunter had only one chance, but the heron made excellent use of it. It managed to reach into the burrow and deal with the prey with one crushing and precise strike. So, if you thought that only eagles, hawks, and owls among all birds know how to hunt well, here's a small discovery for you. If you don't know who you're dealing with, the secretary bird seems like a strange and rather harmless creature. It looks cute with its long, thin legs with funny feathered shorts, short beak, and a crest on its head, thanks to which the bird got its name. But in reality, the secretary bird is not just a good fighter, but also one of the oldest relatives of eagles and falcons. Didn't expect that, did you? For eagles, the secretary bird is like Optimus Prime for the Autobots. That's why this bird looks so unusual. It is just ancient. This species has existed for millions of years with minimal changes because perfection cannot be improved upon. The majority of the diet of this feathered fighter consists of snakes. The secretary bird hunts for various venomous reptiles of Africa, ranging from cobras to black mambas. One bite from such an aggressive snake can stop a bird's heart in less than a minute. The legless reptile utilizes its entire arsenal of cunning tactics, lunging at the enemy, attempting to deceive, dodging strikes, and capitalizing on the slightest mistake of the bird. Simply lightly grasping with its long venomous fangs is enough for the snake to end the duel in its favor. The snake lunges at the enemy time and again, 3 lunges in a row. Each attack is so swift that it's difficult for the human eye to keep up with the strike, but all the reptile's attempts to deliver a fatal blow prove futile. It simply doesn't know what it's dealing with. Even if snakes could talk, it's unlikely that a reptile would be found that would teach the others to panic and hide from the secretary bird. Simply put, too few reptiles survived their first encounter with such an adversary. The secretary bird has turned out to be an unexpectedly formidable hunter of the most dangerous reptiles on the planet. The bird's unusual tactics are astonishing, especially when considering its familial ties. Most diurnal predators like eagles and hawks employ tactics of aerial attacks. They swoop down on the enemy, grasp them with their talons, lift them into the sky, and drop them. Or they dive swiftly onto the snake's head. Even if an eagle were to engage in ground combat with a venomous reptile for some time, the battle still begins with a sudden appearance from above. But the secretary bird acts a little differently. It flies exceptionally well, but does so reluctantly. Instead, the bird calmly roams the savannah in search of a dangerous snake, then engages in an open attack. Looks pretty noble, doesn't it? At the same time, the bird doesn't act overconfidently and relies not only on luck. The bird leverages its advantage in height and perfectly calculates both the angle of attack and the timing. It circles and confounds the snake with sharp, sudden, short movements. The bird spreads its large and beautiful wings like sails. The duel becomes an impressive dance with life at stake. The feathered predator makes these movements not just for beauty or solely to confound the opponent. When the venomous snake lunges to strike, the secretary bird receives the bite on its long, pendulum-like feathers. The venomous fangs don't reach flesh, and the snake may additionally receive a stunning blow to the head. But the bird's main weapon is its legs. They may appear thin and fragile, but in reality, the bird's lower limbs are incredibly strong and deliver swift, devastating blows. The secretary bird's claws are blunt and massive. This is not a flaw, but an additional advantage. There's no point in inflicting wounds on a snake, as some species can still bite even with a severed head. It's much more effective to deliver precise and powerful blows directly to the ground. The claws form something akin to a hammer, with which the bird strikes with short, crisp swings. Several hits guarantee the snake a multitude of unpleasant sensations. It begins to tire and misses the decisive attack, during which the bird either breaks the neck of the spine with another blow or immediately crushes the snake's skull. And then, with its short but powerful and sharp curved beak, the secretary bird finishes off the enemy and begins to devour it. Statistically, the secretary bird hunts snakes much more often and much more successfully than mongooses. Yes, mongooses are known for being able to defeat a king cobra, whose length is 1.5 to even twice the height of an adult human. But still, these furry hunters are non-specialized predators, whereas over 90% of the secretary bird's diet consists precisely of venomous snakes. However, this doesn't mean that secretary birds don't eat anything else. There was a case caught on camera where the bird decided to diversify its menu with a wild rabbit. It seems that a hunting tactic fully adapted to resisting venomous snakes is not suitable for pursuing swift and rather timid furry animals. But the secretary bird showed that it can adapt well to different circumstances. Its weapons also crushed the bones of a rabbit, as well as the spine of a snake. The rodent was accustomed to fearing hunters from the sky, and did not expect that these leisurely walking birds could be so dangerous. The eared one tried to hide too late, as it did not suspect that these long-legged birds could act so fast. The hunt ended quickly. The scene looks quite brutal. Right in the midst of the chase, the two birds began to compete with each other. It didn't escalate into a serious fight, they merely jostled each other and exchanged light blows. But the rabbit tried to escape and almost got away. It clearly overestimated its strength, but it wasn't about to give up, right? The enraged bird immediately realized it was risking losing its meal, swiftly caught up with the already wounded rabbit, and finished it off with a series of blows. The secretary bird acted decisively, delivering several strikes, crushing the rabbit's chest as well as its back and legs. The wingspan of the secretary bird exceeds the height of the average adult human. The bird's height, thanks to its long legs, is also pretty impressive. It towers not only over snakes, but also, for example, over a leopard. But don't be fooled by its specific body structure. This bird remains very sleek and lightweight. An ordinary jackal is much bulkier than the feathered hunter, outweighing it 3 or even 4 times. The jackal is a very cunning, treacherous, and fast predator that should not be underestimated. It often steals food right under the noses of lions and hyenas. And if the enemy is not larger but smaller, the jackal turns into a toothy terminator. But tangling with the secretary bird was a big mistake. The 4-legged predator counted on swiftly pouncing on the bird, pinning it down, breaking its wings, and severing its throat before the secretary could take off. However, no one was planning to take flight or flee. The bird accepted the challenge and decided to show the predator who the toughest fighter was. Moreover, there have been several cases recorded where the secretary bird kicked the jackal's butt. The jackal, being smarter than the snake, doesn't intend to chase after the bird's wings, but the powerful flaps still discourage the opponent. Instantly, the bird seems to grow several times, looming over the enemy, then swiftly retreats to circle around from the other side and deliver a sudden and painful blow. The bird puts maximum force into its strikes, adding the weight of its entire body to the power of its limbs. Perfect balance and lightning-fast reaction speed allow it to completely neutralize the jackal's advantage in mass and agility. The predator fails to catch its prey with its jaws or knock it off its feet. But the secretary bird maneuvers effectively, swirling around and constantly changing direction for the attack. The jackal survives, but it's been severely beaten. For him, each blow of the feathered opponent's blunt talons was like being hit by a rock from the second floor. This painful lesson will be remembered for a long time. The bird didn't bother to spend more energy on him and lets the jackal go. He simply picked the wrong feathered opponent. But the secretary bird seems to simply have had some fun. It's not only impressive how accurately and quickly the predatory bird intercepted the lethal strike of the venomous snake, equal admirable is the iron calm of the feathered predator. Did the venomous fangs come within a hair's breadth of the flesh? Who cares? In general, many diurnal birds of prey fearlessly attack large venomous snakes. The reptile doesn't expect to be considered potential prey, so snakes often don't really have time to hide. It's often possible to catch even a large cobra off guard. Granted, it's still a battle to the win, but the predatory bird decided to show who the top hunter is. It seems that the cobra, which has assured a defensive posture and is preparing to strike, worries this predatory bird less than the prospect of getting its feet wet in the mud. The eagle is already on the ground, and its famous aerial agility can help in the fight against a dangerous opponent. But if you think that without flight the bird becomes clumsy, what do you think of these shots right here? The eagle changes its body position, advances, startles the snake, and then either easily dodges its attack or simply overwhelms the opponent with force. And then, with incredible elegance, the eagle strikes the reptile with a devastating blow of its taloned foot. The eagle aims for the head and presses the cobra or another venomous reptile to the ground with its hooked talons in such a way as to prevent it from wriggling and biting. This is how the bird instantly defeats one of the most venomous predators in the world. Which case from today's video in which birds demonstrated their strength did you like the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, then we'll see each other much more often.